Okay. Hi, my name is Samet Mel. I'm with CIRC, the Coalition of Immigrant Refugees and Communities of Color. I'm also with Mount Baker Housing Association. We came down here earlier today, the whole day just meeting with legislators around the issues that are impacting our communities. And as you can tell, there's a lot of people in this room right now for the Ethnic Commission legislation. So it's a really exciting time to meet with folks of color and folks in the community that are out here. There's like 3 ethnic commissions that are represented, so I'm really excited. I think it's a great space for people to meet, network, and build momentum.
I am currently the chair for the Commission on Asian and Pacific American Affairs. Welcome. I'm also going to be your MC tonight. It's a pleasure to have you all here. Thank you so much for coming from all ends of the state to be with us tonight. We really appreciate your attendance. Also, on behalf of our co-hosts here this evening, we welcome all the community leaders who are in the house, all the students, the educators, faith leaders, nonprofit staff, directors, small business owners. Again, thank you for being here this evening. Now, folks, the purpose of this reception is to connect our communities to government, state leaders, and to each other. At our information tables, which are right at the entrance of the room, you'll find more materials about our state programs and services. Now, it is my absolute honor and privilege to introduce our first guest speaker this evening. Before being elected as Washington State's 16th Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Habib represented East King County in the State House and then in the State Senate. He is a 3-time cancer survivor. Lieutenant Governor Habib has been fully blind since the age of 8. His parents immigrated to the U.S. from Iran before he was born, and he is both the first and only Iranian-American official to hold statewide elected office in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please help me in extending a very warm welcome to this awesome man. Man, you don't know I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. It's good to have you here.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me? Yes. All right. So I want to say, first of all, I want to say a word of thank you to a few different folks. First of all, I want to thank all the commissioners and the staffs of these commissions for the hard work that you all put in all the time. It is often thankless work, but it is so important in setting the agenda in Washington State. I want to thank the commissioners themselves and the staff members. So let's get a round of applause for all of them. Not just for today, but for the work that you all do year-round. You know, because of these commissions, because I want you to know, there's a lot of people who talk about these like these commissions are just feel-good organizations, but I want to tell you, thanks to these commissions, we've done some really important things. It was the direct product of these commissions. It was the direct result of the work the commissions have done that led to the Washington State DREAM Act passing just a couple of years ago. It was the work of these commissions that led to opportunity gap legislation in education just a couple of years ago. It was the work of these commissions that has meant that we are closer than ever to passing a Washington State Voting Rights Act, which I prime sponsored last year and which I know we're going to pass this year with bipartisan support. Now, I want to say something. So I also want to thank Governor Inslee and his staff for being a partner. Now, just listen to this, because there have been, I'm only the second political leader ever in this state to be a person of color to hold statewide political office. Gary Locke was the first, and I'm the second. But I want to tell you something. If there were an honorary 3rd member of color, it would be Jay Inslee, because he has stood with us. Jay Inslee, and I don't get paid to say this, we're independently elected, but I want to tell you, Jay Inslee has been there when it came to the DREAM Act, He was there with the Voting Rights Act and still is. And I'll tell you what touches me to the heart. Last week, when we were at Westlake in Seattle, speaking up on behalf of my family members and friends from the Middle Eastern American community and the global Middle Eastern community, Jay Inslee was right there every step of the way and is still right there with Bob Ferguson and me, fighting to make sure that we have no ban and no wall. And that's what he's and so the commissioners, many of you have been appointed by him, and so you know that Governor Inslee's administration and I and Bob Ferguson and so many legislators here, we listen to you, we are working with you and with the other immigrant and refugee groups that are represented here today. Because what I just listened to, maybe some of you did too, just a couple hours ago, was our Solicitor General for the state of Washington on CNN, on C-SPAN, broadcast nationally and around the world, arguing against this federal administration on behalf of Washington State, saying that this country is a place of inclusion, that we will not discriminate against people based on their religion or national origin. That's Washington State, and that starts with everyone in this room. I know that we are, I don't know what's going on, there's some feedback, but I think that's just applause in my head. I want to tell you that we are in some difficult times right now. For the first time, I've come to this every year, but every year that I've come to this, we've always had this sense of support at the national and the state and in many of our cities at the city level. For the first time now, we do have a struggle, we do have a disagreement, Washington State and Washington, D.C., about the place of communities of color and people of all different backgrounds. We're going to continue to fight that disagreement out in the courts, in Congress, in the newspapers, and even in the state legislature. We're going to continue to do that. So you all are needed even more than ever before. Whatever you were doing in 2016, 2015, 2014, we need you to do more of it in 2017 and 2018 because our challenges are greater. They are greater for Hispanic and Latino Americans. They are greater for Asian Pacific Islander Americans. They are greater for African Americans, for Middle Eastern and South Asian Americans, and for Native Americans. We need everybody, every person of color, community of color to step up more than ever before. Redouble your effort, and you will always have a partner in need. I have a full-time, I've done something that wasn't done before. I hired a director of outreach, Miranda Roberts. She is here with me tonight, and we are here to serve you, to work with you. You have a partner in the office of the Lieutenant Governor. Come and find me on the second floor. We look forward to working with you in solidarity, in partnership. Thank you so much.
Once again, folks, one last round of applause for this Lieutenant Governor, this awesome man here. A household name here in Washington. One of the best darn governors that I've ever been able to serve under. It gives me great pleasure to bring up Governor Inslee.
What a delight to have such a great group here. My comments will be on the theme of Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day. And one thing I know about Valentine's Day is I've learned that you can fall in love with the same person more than once. So I've been married to Trudy since 1972, and I've fallen in love with her many, many times. And I want to tell you, you can also fall in love with a state many, many times. Because you can learn things about your state. You can be reminded things about your state maybe you've forgotten a little bit. I want to tell you, I've fallen in love with my state in the last week that has stood up for the rights of refugees. I wish that everyone in this room could have been with me in the last week where I could not walk through a parking lot or a Garfield Nathan Hale basketball game or anywhere else where people didn't come up and say, thank you for standing up for the best of Washington. This is the best of Washington. And in the moments where perhaps we feel a little despair about some of the issues we work on, remember all those people that are proud of our state for leading the nation to keep this country in tune with its foundational core values. And Washington is leading the nation. And how about a round of applause for Bob Ferguson? Thank you for being part of the state of Washington. One of the things about Washington I love too is when Judy Collins sang our Star Spangled Banner, and she also sang America the Beautiful at my inauguration. And one of the lines, I hope I may butcher the line, but there's a line in the song America the Beautiful that I really like. And it says something about recognizing our flaws, but always improving our nation. That's in that song. I think it applies to the state of Washington too. That when we have things that we recognize that is a flaw, we work together to fix it. And right now we know that our lethal force statute involving law enforcement needs to be improved. And I'm looking forward to working with you to improve that so that we can be more in line with the other states, so that we can improve relations for the extremely professional, hardworking law enforcement personnel in this state in a way to reduce violence. So I know people are working diligently on this. I commend everybody who's staying at the table to try to find the right language. I believe that the malice language ought to come out of the statute. I don't think it's helpful. And I think it will be helpful if we improve this statute. And the more we work together to do that, the better that process will be. So thank you to everybody who's working on this to improve the state of Washington this year. We also want to improve the training of our law enforcement officers. Look, we want law enforcement officers to have the skill set so that they have training to understand how to disengage where appropriate, de-escalate.
Yeah.
We don't want our officers to have to be involved in violence for their own safety. Their families we care about as much as any family in the state of Washington. So I hope we can have a good signing ceremony later this year, and I hope you'll be involved all in this effort. I'll comment on one other thing that I hope you will be engaged in. And that is making sure this year that the state of Washington fulfills its constitutional obligation to fully and fairly fund the education of our children. We know we got work to do on that. We know it's going to be a heavy lift for legislators. I'm encouraged that both parties have now put out some ideas about how to make this lift. Whatever you think the proper solution is, I hope that you will tell legislators you will stand with them when they do the hard things that are necessary to get this job done. This is a year to get it done. This is a year to celebrate finally getting to the top of the mountain. This is a year to have a great success. Thanks a lot. We'll see you at the signing ceremony.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Governor Jay Inslee, Governor of the state of Washington. And I'm here in Olympia, Washington, the capital of our state. And I'm so glad that you're interested in helping grow our state. We need young leaders. Young leaders are the smartest people in the state of Washington. They're the best educated. They're the most in touch with their communities. And I urge you to find a way to be involved in your community, whether it's in a club or in your school or in your neighborhood. We need you. You're helping Washington become a better and better place to live. We here in Olympia are now working to make sure we have the best possible education for our students. This is so important. And we no matter what you're doing, what you enjoy doing, if you do well in school, if you get to class, you're going to do well, and we hope that you will, because our future depends on it. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in Olympia someday. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, my wife used to work there, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a good
We're
spot.
gonna- for sure.
What do you want to study?
Civil engineering so far.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, I feel that.
We got a few bridges to build. So.
I like the books.
I'm Mia Suling Gregerson, and my position is a state representative for the 33rd District. I love today's events. First of all, they have the best food at this reception, and these are my people, so I'm so excited to be in a room full of great people. Olympia is a great place. There's a lot of opportunity here, but at the same time, we have a lot of work to do. And it's wonderful to have a night like this where we can celebrate each other. So when we go back to work tomorrow, I think this is such a shame. I'm so proud to be an American, and when I see national leadership take measures like this, it's embarrassing, but it's also an opportunity for us in the state to show our power and to bond together. And you'll see op-eds everywhere where women are being told, we're done walking, it's time to run. So really hoping that more and more people get involved in the democratic process and find an issue and fight for it. This is a place where so many young people can get involved. There's a week where you can be a page. There's a scholarship that we're talking about right now to make sure that no child is ever refused for being a page. You can also come back and be an intern, so at any point in time, and you can shadow. Just call me, text me, whatever. When we're in interim, I'm back in district, and I'll come and I'll have coffee. I'll visit you in your classroom, support your teachers, whatever I can do to break down the barrier between what government does and what people needs are. If it wasn't for organizations like CIRC, events like this would never happen, because we are such a culture of who we know, not what we know, and those relationships with each other make all the difference. Tomorrow we'll be hearing bills about the Voting Rights Act, and it'll be communities of color and communities like CIRC that will be telling each other, come down, email your legislator, let them know how you think. So you can find me in Olympia, Mia Gregerson. My email is mia.gregerson@ledge.wa.gov. You can call my cell phone at 206-795-1950. You can call or text me there. So thank you so much.
Mike Chapman, and I'm from Port Angeles, Washington, and I represent from Port Townsend all the way out to the coast and down to ocean shores. It's just always good to meet new people from around the state and make new friends and be in an atmosphere like this where there's so much energy and passion for all the good work that a lot of these folks are doing to make our state just a great state to live and work and pursue our passions. So I'm just honored to be here and to be a part of today's event. The dancers were fantastic. I mean, that was amazing, and what an honor to be a part of a group of people that are so committed to their craft and to watch, to enjoy the music and the dancing, and how much fun everybody's having tonight to just, yeah. Well, we live in a country, and Washington's part of a state in a great country that's always welcomed immigrants. We have a long history in this state. Look at the businesses, the great businesses that we have created in this state, and the economic growth from folks who came from other countries, who brought their knowledge and their education. So, we're Washington. We're better than people who want to close our borders off. We're better than that, and our economy is so important. I applaud the governor for taking a leadership role in these times where there's turmoil from the federal level. I have great respect for the work the governor and the attorney general are doing to protect the rights of Washington, to protect the rights of legal immigration and folks coming here to work hard. That's what our values are.
So what is next now? We're waiting from the Washington DC, or what is the next steps as we have today?
Well, the House of Representatives, we wrote a letter. The House Democrats wrote a letter to the president, letting him know we didn't like his policy. And I think that all of Washington is pushing back against Washington, D.C. And it's important that we continue to send a message to Washington, D.C. that you've got to work with states and you've got to work with all of us. We're not going to live under a dictatorship. The president serves the people, the American people. He was elected to serve, not to be a dictator. And I think that that's our job as a state legislature, as part of a state, to say, you're not king. You've got to work with all of us, and we all have different viewpoints. And so I think the leadership of our governor again and our attorney general to kind of push back against that kind of a dictator atmosphere, and it's important. It's important to the health. Look at all the businesses that have weighed in. Tremendous support from the business community to show how important for them to raise the issue because of our economy, the workers. They're protecting their workers. This is an important issue in our time. And it's time for the federal government to slow down and work with states, work with the business community, work through Congress, work together like we've always done as Americans. It's time to find answers, solution, work together. You know, you have a very a nice intern doing a great job. That's why we're here. And I have an intern that's helping in my office, and he's here tonight too. That's how it works in America. Thanks for having us.
My name is Joaquin Wee, and I am the Ethnic Media and Communications Specialist at the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, City of Seattle. The City of Seattle Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs is honored to be here today as a guest of Governor Jay Inslee, as well as all of the ethnic commissions that celebrate the rich diversity of Washington State, and that also have come together to stand up against executive orders that seek to try to ban our Muslim brothers and sisters from the borders of Washington State and the United States. I think that there's a perception that Washington State and Seattle also are a very white state and city, but I think events like this show and remind me that we live in a state and a city with rich diversity, both in ethnicity, in terms of where people are from, in terms of religions, and also cultures. And so I love coming to these events to talk with people and to see what's happening around the state in terms of supporting immigrants and refugees, and again, celebrating the rich diversity that is here in Washington State. I'd say that both Mayor Ed Murray, and Governor Jay Inslee stand shoulder to shoulder and united in saying that we're a welcoming city and a welcoming state. We accept refugees, welcome refugees in this country, Vietnamese refugees, as well as Chinese immigrants and East African refugees have all contributed to the great fabric that is the Pacific Northwest. And so we will always be a city and a state that say we have open doors to our most vulnerable neighbors and folks who are running away from strife and from political turmoil. You know, we want to provide them a safe harbor. One thing that I know about MMRTI is that MMRTI has a great mission of empowering young people through media, through arts and culture. And in order to do that, you need to bring people not just all around Seattle, but all around the state of Washington. Whether it's Western Washington or all around King County, there's great diversity everywhere you look in the state. And so why not bring young people out to those places to witness that as well, and to learn and to be part of that cultural exchange.
My name is Cindy Ryu. I'm state representative from the 32nd Legislative District, which that includes the northwest corner of Seattle, and then all of Shoreline, and then we go into the Snohomish County, so that is town of Woodway, the southern third of Edmonds, Washington, as well as most of Linwood, Washington, and western third of Montlake Terrace, so 32nd Legislative District. This is my fourth term. Yes, I've won my election 4 times already, so this is my 7th year in the legislature, and I'm now serving as the chairwoman of the Community Development, Housing, and Tribal Affairs. So we also deal with tourism, with Veterans Affairs, as well as emergency preparedness and community resilience. Yeah, it's a really fun committee. I am one of perhaps 3 immigrants that are serving in the Washington State Legislature. And also there are 10 members of color within the House Democratic Caucus, and there are 50 Democrats in the House. And so 10 of us comprise 20% of the Democratic Caucus, which is a significant number. And so I am very happy also to report that I've been elected the chairwoman of the Members of Color Caucus. And so we have, I think, enough of a critical mass that we can help our colleagues see a little bit different points of view, how different cultures and different origins of nation for the immigrants' point of view actually can help make Washington State a much better state, and so that we can actually come up with much better policies that's good for everyone. So when the President of the United States imposed a travel ban, which I believe is illegal, I am so glad that our state took a position. We, the members of color, as well as the Democratic Caucus members, we signed on to a letter opposing it and addressed it to the President that we opposed it. And I had posted a version of it since I signed on to it onto Facebook, and it was amazing that within 2 hours 500 people had viewed that post, because that many people were concerned about this ban, because it is not only targeting certain national people from particular nations, but it is targeting religion, what your religion is. And so we, nation founded on immigrants, founded on the principle of religious freedom, for president to make an executive decision like that is totally illegal, in my opinion. But also, he did not go through the process of the democracy that we have, representative democracy that we have, with the legislative branch that should be making those policy decisions, and then he's only the executive. He is not all 3 branches. And so I am really glad the 3rd branch, the judicial branch, decided that that is not proper. And I'm so happy that our local judge, who was appointed by a Republican from a past administration, actually agreed with the state of Washington. So that particular travel ban obviously will work its course through the courts, because Washington State is not the only state that's opposing it. Other states are also opposing it, and it has many ramifications. Of course, it has impact on families, but even more broadly, it has huge impact on a trade-dependent state like Washington State. My daughter works at Amazon, and she was really frustrated because so many of her colleagues would have been affected by this travel ban as to whether they could travel or even see their family, or even whether Amazon could attract very highly skilled, well-educated employees, both within our state and abroad. You can only imagine how this particular ban dampens the ability of Washington State businesses to compete in a very vigorous manner that they've been able to over the last quite a few decades under both Democratic and Republican regimes. For the legislature, for ourselves, we have our job to do, which is we have to make sure many of the progress that we made over the last decade or two, such as the Affordable Care Act that covers, I believe, at the least 600,000 more children and a lot more adults. We have to make sure that continues and does not get rolled back no matter what happens in Washington, D.C. And so we have a lot of work to do at the state level to make sure that we defend the freedom as well as the economic well-being and the services that we have prided ourselves in providing to all of our 7 million residents. So I'm a late bloomer. I did not get involved in politics until I was 45 years old. And the reason I got involved was because I was not happy with what our city council was doing about a particular street project. And so I came home and I was complaining to my children because they would listen to me, they had no choice. And one of them, who was active in student government, she said, "Then Mom, please do something about it." And she was absolutely right. She was a teenager and she gave me really good advice. So I decided to run for city council because if you cannot win over them, then guess what you do? You join them from the inside and you make the changes from the inside. And I am so glad that I ran, even though it was very difficult. I ran 3 times to get elected to city council. I only won once. But I served for 4 years, and 2 of those years as mayor of Shoreline. And the next day I realized my cousins called me from Korea and he said, "You're the first." And I said, "What first?" And he said, "You're the first Korean American female to be a mayor any time in the United States history." And it was 105 years after the first immigrants to Hawaii had occurred. So my reaction was, why did it take so long? Well, you know what? It was a hard job that was for very little pay, with a lot of blaming and hard time for not just me, but my entire family that was attacked. But look at me now. I'm now in the state legislature. I am serving as the chairperson of a committee that is really important to many of us on housing, on veterans issues, on community development, tourism, and I'm having so much fun. It is a really difficult job, but very interesting, and I feel like I'm going to graduate school every single day because I'm learning something new every day, and I'm helping make the laws that everyone has to obey, right? I have 3 brothers, so I can actually compare to my brothers who have really good jobs. They make way more money than I do, and yet they have to obey the laws that I help make, right? But I think even more important thing is our laws are living documents. If you are unhappy about a particular law, let me know. Or even better, come to the legislature, join me, become a legislator, and you can actually make the change from the inside. Yes, thank you. Yes, nice to meet you.
Thank you.